The fans who went to see the World Cup in the United States are declaring war on tipping. And please pay attention, World Cup fans have not been leaving tips in the United States and restaurants are fighting back. Now they are automatically adding 20% to the bills, since visitors aren't used to the tipping culture and the staff had to explain that it's expected. I mean, just imagine, this is crazy. Basically, all the fans who are going to the United States, first I want you to understand the following. Just getting to the World Cup has been wild. Prices are out of control and don't make sense. It's like a World Cup just for the rich, right? Now imagine that you managed to go to the World Cup. There's another detail. Accommodations are extremely expensive, right? Have you seen how Airbnbs and hotels have raised their prices by 200, 300, even 1000%? I mean, it's just totally crazy. And on top of that, as if it weren't enough, you have to constantly pay for flights, because sometimes your team might have a match in New York, then another one in Miami. And maybe suddenly they have a match in Guadalajara or in Mexico City or in Canada or in Los Angeles. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the distances are huge. It's incredible. And now, as if that weren't enough, if you want to eat at a restaurant in the United States, you have to leave 20% as a tip. People went crazy. People said, why do I have to leave a tip if in my country I don't leave a tip? And obviously this has caused a lot of outrage among the fans, but also a lot of outrage among the employees, among the workers who are the ones who receive those tips. In fact, we're told that this 20% that's starting to be applied automatically is being applied in the cities of Atlanta, Boston, Kansas City, and Philadelphia. So basically the employees in those places are fed up, right, in those cities. In fact, let's see here. What do they say? They pay their employees very low wages. Are you talking about the American employees? No, man. A guy who flips burgers in the United States makes 5 times more than an engineer in Latin America. What are you talking about? And then they expect customers to make up that difference through tips. That's a company expense, not the customers. Just offer your employees a fair salary in line with others around the world to avoid any issues related to tipping. Look, the tipping issue is purely a cultural thing in the United States. So it's something that's not going to change. It's that simple. It's something that's not going to change and it's here to stay. Also, a lot of employees like tips because, if I'm not mistaken, they even remove the taxes from them. I mean, just imagine. Incredible. But let's take a good look at what happened, because it's outrageous.
Tourists arriving for the World Cup are facing one of the most controversial customs in the United States, leaving a 20% tip.
Just imagine.
And the debate is already spreading on social media. In the United States, tips are not just a way to say thank you, they're part of how many restaurant workers get paid. That's why when tourists leave a small tip or don't leave anything, waiters can feel it directly in their pockets. But many visitors come from countries where tipping is lower, optional, or simply not expected. In France, the service is usually included. In the United Kingdom, restaurants often add a service charge, and in Japan, it's generally not customary to leave a tip.
It's not customary to leave a tip in restaurants. Be careful though. For example, if you take an Uber or a taxi, sometimes it is customary. So watch out. In fact, we'll talk more about this later.
And in many countries, rounding up the bill is considered a polite gesture. So for tourists, that 20% can feel like an extra charge.
And the thing is, 20% is a lot for the vast majority of people around the world. Many would consider 20% crazy.
For waiters, not receiving a tip can mean losing part of their income. In 15 states, workers who receive tips can still earn as little as $2.03 per hour as a base salary.
In just a few states, imagine that.
And in many states, they also allow them to be paid a cash wage lower than the regular minimum wage, according to the United States Department of Labor. Okay. To avoid confusion, some restaurants in Kansas City, Atlanta, and Philadelphia would be adding automatic 20% tips during the tournament, according to industry groups and restaurant operators. But the debate goes beyond tourists. AP has reported a growing fatigue with tipping and has reported that consumers are being asked to leave tips in more places than ever before. And Pew Research found that 72% of adults in the United States say that tipping is now expected in more places than it was 5 years ago.
In other words, Americans themselves are starting to get fed up with tipping. Of course, just imagine, you go to eat at a restaurant, and besides the bill, which is often crazy, you can easily end up spending $30 or $40 at a restaurant. Well, on top of that, you have to leave a tip. Incredible.
The World Cup is turning a very common discussion in the United States into an international debate. Do you think tourists should leave bigger tips, or that the tipping system in the United States should be updated?
Oh, that's a very good question. What do you all think now about the tipping issue in Japan? Pay attention to the following.
Japan is often discussed on social media, but one thing isn't true.
Tipping is not allowed.
Tipping is not allowed. Tipping is not allowed. Of course, tipping is allowed in Japan.
They don't require tips. They say it's not customary in Japan.
And what if you want to leave a tip?
He says no. No. They get offended. How could you think that? It's an offense to give a tip in Japan.
And in Japan, it's an insult if you give a tip. You don't have to tip. It's like saying, here, you need this, right? Yes, it's frowned upon.
Some people say that tipping in Japan is offensive. And no, that's not true. My experience working in restaurants is that chain restaurants don't accept tips, because the goal is to be fair to everyone, to the workers, to the customers, to everyone. However, in taxis, hotels, or small businesses, it is usually accepted. Also, there is a special tradition of leaving the tip on the pillow in hotels or ryokans. That's right, yes, it's a bit of an old custom. It's still done today, but it's becoming less common.
Okay, do you see where the problem is? Even though in the United States tipping is a custom and it's something that's done and given all the time, well, in the rest of the countries in the world, it doesn't work like that. For example, in countries like Mexico, we all know that you have to leave a tip, but the tip is not mandatory. Although many times the waiters and employees might give you dirty looks for not leaving a tip, you can leave the place if you want without giving them a tip. You can say, you know what, I'm not going to leave you a tip. The tip is not mandatory in Mexico. No one can force you to leave a tip in Mexico. And the tip is mainly given as a thank you for good service. Although out of habit, many people already leave a tip. Always. I mean, every time they go to a restaurant or something like that, they go and leave a tip, even if the service was just so-so. But the point is that in the rest of the world, tipping is like a way to say thank you for the service. But I don't know. In the United States, it's almost mandatory. I mean, it's not 100% mandatory, but in the United States, it's very common to leave a 20% tip at restaurants. And it's something people just do, no questions asked. And, well, just imagine a bunch of foreigners arriving in the United States and you already saw what happened. I mean, there's a huge fight going on right now over the tipping issue. But anyway, the restaurants didn't just sit back and do nothing, and now they're adding the tip. The tip is added directly to the bill. Incredible but true. So gentlemen, I'd like to know what you think and what your opinions are about all this. It's completely crazy. And what do you think? Would you leave a tip in the United States? Yes or no? See you next time.